She told me that friends touched each other all the time. That this would solidify our relationship. Doing this every day would make me experience, so I listened. I watched my first nasty show. As I cringed at the thought of watching this desire grow, I was uncomfortable. But she told me that this was the only way a man would love me. If I experimented with porn and played on her body, I didn't know what I was doing. I was 10 and afraid. It was either follow her lead or be barricaded in a grave. So for 6 months she molested me, fondled uncontrollably, cried myself to sleep and dreamed of people robbing my body. I was perverted. Porn when I woke up, porn when I went to sleep. Sexual spirits ransacked my mind, just a sudden thought made me weak. Masturbation was my vision. Fornication became my mission. Perversion was my anthem. That's what I screamed to all my victims. Saints gathered around me, casting out legions that took residence. I wasn't willing to let go. My lustful desires took precedence. When all else failed, pills became my portion. Psychiatrists became the norm. Therapy turned into horror. I want promiscuity as a badge of honor. Every generational curse. Cried myself to sleep. Drank and smoked to mute the hurt. Until I found Jesus.
Found that man. Thank you.
What do you do when you're just a young girl and sex games are a ritual? When family ties turn to soul ties because incest is habitual. It happens every time you see each other. It becomes quite traditional. And you're too young to understand. So when you see the nakedness of her body, you're disgusted with the visual. But when she touches you, your body responds in ways you can't control in the physical. So now you're confused and forced to suffer with the pain, but you think that it's okay because the scars aren't visible. You try to forget it ever happened, but it's too late. The damage is done. Plus, she's not the first one. It becomes too much, too heavy, too critical. And then you're forced to suffer with soul ties from sex acts that weren't even consensual. After that, I assumed the masculine role. I decided that from then on, I'd be in control of the pain. Trauma buried deep inside. I made sure no one would ever know. I wore my fitted down low, pain hidden under baggy clothes. I was what they call the hardcore butch. So that means I perverted the role of a woman and assumed the role of a male. But even then, I still failed. See, back then, I kept score of how many women I could get. But now I struggle in my mind with thoughts of all the women that I just can't forget. See, my issues with perversion, it began way before birth. I was cursed with the generational curse before I could even form words. And as for pornography, about 16 years ago was when that started. I remember the very first time I saw it. From that moment on, my entire life was altered. I was only 8 years old. I really didn't know what I was doing. Who would have ever thought that this would become of me? Because I took my eyes off the king and glued my eyes to a screen. Sometimes I can't even think straight because my mind is tainted with thoughts of every girl that I ever dated and laid with. Every one night stand, next day not remember what her name is. My mind has a mind of its own and I hate it. But God help me get my life back because I was never meant for this. Look at all the struggle that has come from all those videos and images. It's crazy how something can start off as a game and then leads to being intimate. Sometimes I just wish I could rewind time and snatch back my innocence. Because my pain held me hostage. My purpose was perverted. I thought that I was worthless. Till I found Jesus.
I was just 8 years old when I had my first encounter. Not quite how I imagined, and honestly at that age this was far from my imagination. But he told me that it wouldn't hurt, and all I had to do was follow what was on the TV. So as my brother began to molest me, blurry visions of pornography was before me. Tears filling my eyes because I just wanted this nightmare to be over. But somehow this nightmare turned into what seemed like a daily activity to the point where my body was yearning. yearning for it. And I began to get mad with myself, questioning how could this be? How could I want something that hurts me physically and emotionally? Then at the age of 11, it had finally stopped. So I went on with life trying to have a childhood, not knowing that a few years later at the age of 14, I would get raped by my pops. So sex became my addiction, and pornography was just for turn on. Tears was for kids. I was now a woman, and my childhood was officially gone. Growing up in foster care, doctors pumping me with meds, trying to figure out why I no longer wanted to live. Not realizing that no Zoloft or Prozac pill could ever take away the pain that I endured as a kid. So self-esteem, I had none. And I was being swallowed up by depression, gasping for air like a person being squeezed to death by a python. Lifeless. My life felt priceless until I found Jesus. But then he broke us. Ready to run away because of the pain of my past. Crying on the altar asking God, why? Why did I have to endure this pain if you really cared? Why do I have to walk around looking over my shoulder scared? But God quickly spoke and said, Nelly, I was there. Don't you realize that it could have been worse? But you were kept even when you didn't want to be because of me. And I come to you so that you can tell others your testimony. And even though you are hurting, it's me who makes you complete. Jesus.
I was crushed, crumbled, and completely shattered at the throne. I was tired of the pain. I couldn't bear the cross on my own. Day by day, filled with shame, I traveled down the same road until I ran into the arms of Jesus, the only help I've ever known. He renewed my mind, totally revived my soul. Then he turned my valley of darkness into a gateway of hope.
God showed me that I had tendencies of Gomer while pretending to be his Ruth.
My God.
That my idolized desires trumped his, which indirectly minimized his truth. He pressed me into a place of submission so that he could purge me until I was willing to surrender. He created in me a clean heart. He renewed my mind. He replaced the perverted slave with the righteous one.
You are not what happened to you.
You are not your past. Perversion can't keep you bound. You are free in Christ. You no longer have to wear a mask.
And the pain that you endured was already carried on the cross.
And each drop of blood that he shed had your name on it.
That's why I can stand here today, free from all the guilt and all the shame.
Free from the yoke of bondage.
Delivered from a perverted mind.
Redeemed from the hand of the enemy. For they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
And if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature.
You shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord.
Be healed.
Be free.
Be delivered.
Let the redeemed of